This is a parajumble or an ordering of sentences type of question. Some countries are at least trying to curb emissions. Okay, so some countries. Morocco is building a colossal solar power plant in the desert. Okay, now if some countries are at least trying to curb emissions, and then it says Morocco is building a colossal solar power plant, that is actually a connection. But let's look further. Let's try and find the introductory sentence. States in the Middle East and North Africa can do little on their own to mitigate is reduce, right? Mitigate, make things better. Yes, Middle East and North Africa can do little, meaning they can do hardly anything on their own to mitigate climate change. Yes, so this makes for a good introductory sentence. But let's look at the others. Saudi Arabia is not going to stop exporting oil, but it plans to build a solar plant. Okay, plans to build a solar plant that will be about 200 times the size of the biggest such facility operating today. Politics often gets in the way of problem solving. Okay, so these are your sentences. Yes, sentence 3 seems like a good start, right? Seems like a good introductory sentence because it says it introduces the places. Yes, the context, which is states in the Middle East and North Africa, can do hardly anything on their own to mitigate, reduce climate change. Yes, so 3 is a good starting sentence. All right, and then we follow it up with 5, because 5 tells us why it is that they can do little on their own. Okay, because it says politics often gets in the way, right? Meaning it interferes with problem solving. Okay, so you get a 3-5 link. Yes, and then if you look at the options, you'll see that there is only one option that has the 3-5 link. So option 4 is your answer, right? But if you follow the link also, of course, always check. Yes, but you'll see that there is a very clear connection among the sentences. So after 5 comes 1. Some countries are at least trying to curb emissions. Yes, and that's basically what 2 and 4 do. They give examples of some countries that are trying to curb emissions. Yes, so option 4, 3, 5, 1, 2, 4 is the best sequence. Let's take a look at the sentences. What do they tell us? Behavioral models in finance. Okay, most often critique is analyze. Yes, evaluate generally. The efficient market hypothesis, which states that if investors behave rationally, then prices should reflect all, right? So should reflect all available information about the financial asset in consideration. A number of behavioral models, including feedback models where investors bid up the price, have been used to explain this phenomenon. It says this phenomenon would refer to something that is mentioned in one of the other sentences. Yes, so we do not start the sequence with sentence 2, but so this also doesn't start the sequence. Finance is one of the fields. Okay, so here we have a possible starting sentence because it seems to introduce the idea. Finance is one of the fields where behavioral models have been used extensively, enough for behavioral finance. Okay, so 4 is the best starting sentence that we have got so far. At least sentence 5 anyway says this idea of, right? So that can't be your starting sentence. Okay, so we start the sequence with 4. Finance is one of the fields where behavioral models have been used extensively. Okay, and that is followed by 1 because 1 is again continuing that idea by telling us behavioral models in finance most often critique the efficient market hypothesis. All right, so the 4-1 sequence, we get only in one option. So 4-1-3-2-5 is your answer. Okay, let's check 4-1-3. Yes, so should reflect all available information about the financial asset in consideration. But, says sentence 3, asset price bubbles and crashes belie this conclusion. This conclusion is a reference to what is mentioned in sentence 1. Okay, followed by sentence 2. A number of behavioral models, including this, have been used to explain this phenomenon. Continues the idea. This idea of irrational exuberance is now widely accepted and used. Right. So sentence 5 is the last sentence. Okay, right. This is an interesting one, a grammar based one, yes, right, but a tag question, right? Question tags, yes. So question tags are generally, so if the sentence is positive, the question tag is negative, and if the sentence is negative, the question tag is positive, right? So that's how it works, and the same verb is to be used, right? If there is an action word used, right, an action verb, so you have the be verb, which is not an action verb, right? The forms of be are is, am, are, was, were. Yes. Then you use the same verb. Okay. Do, does, did. Yes, is another. Has, have, had is another. Okay. Do, does, did also happen to be action verbs. Yes. So let's take a look. He has few reasons for saying no to the match. Has he? Okay, so he has few reasons, he has hardly any reasons. That is the idea, right? So even though it says he has, okay, it becomes a negative sentence. That's why has he is correct. Okay, you like to play, don't you? Okay, so here it might seem a little strange because you do not have do mentioned in the first part of the sentence, but the if we elaborate upon this, this will be you do like to play, don't you? Okay, so sentence 2 is also correct. There's little point, little again, hardly any point. There is little point in doing anything about the match, is there. Okay, so again, when you say little, it means hardly any, therefore it becomes negative, so the question tag is positive. Okay, so that's also correct. Moreover, he plays well, isn't it? Okay, so here we have the mistake. Okay, so this works more or less like sentence 2. Okay, uh, but I'll come back to this. We'll just quickly check 5. Nobody has called for you, have they? Okay, so this again is correct because in this day and age we do not go automatically with the singular, yes, when the gender is not clear, right? So nobody is an indefinite pronoun, the gender is not clear, it could refer to any gender, yes, so that's why the question tag gets pluralized. Okay, but yes, nobody has called, nobody again makes this first part of the sentence negative, therefore the question tag is positive. Okay, here let's come back to sentence 4. Moreover, he plays well, isn't it? Yes, you cannot have is not it, that is the elaboration of isn't it, as the question tag for play, which is an action verb, right? So this again would mean moreover he does play well, doesn't he? Yes, so the does is implied just as it is in sentence 2. You do like to play, moreover he does play well, doesn't he? Yes, so this question tag is incorrect. Moreover he does play well, doesn't he? So sentence 4 is the one with the wrong question tag. We have here a sentence completion or a fill in the blank type of question. Quite straightforward here again. Yes, so let's take a look. While startups have dash reach. Okay, now mind you, the word while, okay, has two meanings. It can be used in two ways. One is to convey that two actions are happening at the same time. The other one is as a contrast or contradiction. Yes, so in a text completion, sentence completion kind of question, most of the time it is being used to convey a contrast or contradiction. Okay, so while startups have dash reach, dash, they introduce dash products, they open up dash markets. Okay, so it does seem at first sight that we don't have a lot of clues in the sentence, but the options should help us. All right, so while startups have limited reach, as in what audience or what customer base they reach, right? That is the idea. Yes, so restricted reach. Now while limited and restricted could work, yes, limited is definitely a better word because that is also idiomatically correct. Restricted would imply that it is very controlled, limited would imply that it could be, right? So it's slightly more positive than restricted in this context. Okay, so limited reach. Since they introduce new products, they open up innovative markets. Yes, now what are innovative markets? You can have innovative products, right? So that is a little bit of a there seems to be a bit of, it should have been the other way around, right? So we don't take option 1. Okay, restricted reach, as I said, so let's put these on hold. Let's first look at the options we have with limited. While startups have limited reach, when they introduce innovative products, they open up new markets. Yes, right? So innovative products, new product, something that introduces a novelty, right? They open up new markets. Maybe there will be more customers who will need those innovations. Yes, so that makes absolute sense, and that is the answer. Okay, let's just look at 5. Limited reach. If they, while startups have limited reach, if they introduce new products, they open up innovative markets. So this one is doing exactly what option 1 is doing. Therefore, we eliminate that also. Option 2 says restricted. While they have restricted reach, while they introduce innovative products, yes, so we don't use another while here because the while has already been used for the contrast. Yes, that way option 3 is better. While startups have restricted reach, when they introduce new products, they open up innovative markets. So essentially the choice is between 3 and 4, right? So here it comes down to this: limited reach is better than restricted reach. Yes, so option 4 is the best choice. We have a passage, a critical reasoning question, right? We know that because it says which of the following can be best concluded from the passage. Okay, now here the answer is option 1. Okay, I'm going backward here because it is a critical reasoning passage. It is a conclusion based question, right? So I'm going backward a little bit. Now, what does option 1 say? The painting puts chronological context to the evolution of modern like cognitive abilities. Okay, so where do we get that from? Okay, so it says the painting, so obviously that's our topic word. Okay, so we start with that, which is in poor condition, suggests that a highly advanced, also since the option talks about evolution, right, artistic culture existed some 44,000 years ago, punctuated by folklore, religious myths, and spiritual beliefs. The scene may be regarded not only as the earliest dated figurative art. Okay, these are all the words, the key words in the passage that lead us to this conclusion. Okay, in the world, but also as the oldest, okay, also as the oldest evidence for the communication of a narrative in Paleolithic art. This is noteworthy given the ability, etc., right? That the ability to invent fictional stories may have been the last and most crucial stage in the evolutionary history of human language and the development. Okay, there you straight away have the word that is used in option 1. Okay, modern like patterns of cognition. Okay, so that's why option 1 is the best choice. Okay, we have here another short passage. This passage is actually a little complex. It says, we stand before this great world. The truth of our life depends upon our attitude of mind towards it. So it's a slightly abstract passage. Yes. The first question says, which of the following statements can be best inferred from the passage? So what do we get from the passage? Now, the answer to this question is option 1. Conquest and union are two ways of realizing the truth of our life. Yes. One thing to do is, yes, take a quick look at the passage. Yes, if you're tackling this, take a quick look at the passage, look at the keywords, take a look at the options. Yes, and then work backwards, right? If you're trying this passage. Yes. So basically, you get conquest and union are two ways of realizing the truth of our life. You get this answer from here. It guides our attempts. Okay. It guides our attempts. So what is the it? That is the truth of our life. Yes, that is mentioned in the previous sentence. So it guides our attempts to establish relations with the universe, either by conquest or by union. Okay. So this one is more or less, this is an answer that you can get more or less. Okay. This question is a little more tricky. Yes, because there is another option that seems to come close. So let's see what the question is. According to the passage, our emphasis on dualism or on unity is best guided by. Okay, that's what the question says. The answer to this is option 1. Okay, how we deal with our surroundings and our temperaments. Okay, now there is this: how powerful or sympathetic our surroundings and temperament are. Yes, so this is another one that uses more or less the same keywords from the passage. So where do you get this surroundings and temperaments? It's there in the second sentence. We read it. We stand before this great world. The truth of our life, yes, depends upon our attitude of mind towards it, an attitude which is formed by our habit of dealing with it according to the special circumstance, yes, which is formed by our habit of dealing with it. So our habit of dealing with it according to the special circumstance of our surroundings and our temperaments. Temperaments are nothing but our personalities, yes, our characteristics. Okay. Now, dualism, the principle of dualism and the unity is mentioned in the last line. Yes. So it says, and thus, okay, in our realization of the truth of existence, we put our emphasis either upon the principle of dualism or upon the principle of unity. Okay, so since the last sentence is a conclusion, thus, yes, it sort of goes step by step from what is mentioned in the second sentence and ultimately says that, in our realization of the truth of existence, we put our emphasis upon either of these. Yes, so that is the reason this as the answer, how we deal with our surroundings and our temperaments. So we have here a slightly longer passage. Yes, this passage talks about multitasking. Yeah, it talks about the first paragraph, brings in the physiological aspect also, right, and connects it to multitasking. Yes, and in the second paragraph there is also an example that is given, right, as to how in the earlier days we did not multitask, we generally focused on one thing at a time, but nowadays there is the sort of pressure, maybe, right, there is the unstated pressure to multitask. Yes, so let's take a look at question 8. According to the passage, why do people in meetings routinely answer their cell phones to say, I'm sorry, I can't talk now, I'm in a meeting? Okay, this is a reference to the last part of the passage, second paragraph. This expectation. So, what is this expectation? Let's start from here. Okay, so it starts from here. This has created an implicit expectation, meaning nobody is actually coming out and saying it. Okay, that you should be able to reach someone when it is convenient for you, regardless of whether it is convenient for them. Okay, now what is created? The author is previously talking about how everybody has a cell phone now, right? And because everybody has a cell phone, in fact, what he or she says is, now more people have cell phones than have toilets. Yes, so people actually, they may or may not have a toilet available, right, but they will definitely have a cell phone. And this has created an implicit expectation that you should be able to reach someone when it is convenient for you. I need to reach that person, I need to talk to that person, therefore that person should be available, right? This expectation is so ingrained, right? It is so ingrained, meaning it is very much a part of us that people in meetings routinely answer their cell phones to say, I'm sorry, I can't talk now, I'm in a meeting. Yeah, so just a decade ago, those same people would have let a landline on their desk go unanswered during a meeting. So different were the expectations for reachability, right? So why do people in meetings routinely answer their phone, right? Why is it that now they answer their phones to say, I'm sorry, I can't talk? Okay, the first one says, because it is convenient for people to send a message. If it is convenient for people to send a message, then why would they pick up their phones and say, I can't talk now? Right, so that's out. Because it conveys that the receiver is a busy person. Yes, that's an image that the person wants to protect, with which passage is not talked. Because people don't mind if somebody takes a brief phone call. That's not the purpose of this particular example, right? That's not the point that the author is trying to make. It's not a point about how busy people are. It's more about whether that person can be reached or not, right? Because in meetings, cell phones allow people to multitask. Now, here is your trap option. Because the word multitask is mentioned and the passage is talking about multitasking, right? We may fall for this option, but no. The last 2-3 sentences, if we read them carefully, we can very clearly get to option 5, which says, because if you carry a cell phone, you have to reply, right? The implication that a cell phone has created, because people carry cell phones, right? The implicit expectation is that if you have a cell phone, I can reach you whenever I want. Yes, so that is the answer. What does the author best intend to convey when he says, now more people have cell phones than have toilets? So, as I said, this is over here. Yes, and the second paragraph again, right? This is where you get this particular sentence. This is where the author has mentioned it. Now, going by the previous question, we already know that it goes on to the idea that has then created, because people have cell phones, it has created an expectation that they'll be available anytime. Yes, but what does he intend to convey when he says more people have cell phones than have toilets? Okay, so what does that say? Everybody wants to stay connected, using cell phones. Yes, so why is it, right? So we can read the first part of the second paragraph, right? That might clarify it a little more. In the old days, if the phone rang and we were busy, we either didn't answer or we turned the ringer off. When all phones were wired to a wall, there was no expectation of being able to reach us at all times. One might have gone out for a walk or be between places. And so, if someone couldn't reach you, if you didn't feel like being reached, it says in the brackets. Yes. So, it's not just that, someone couldn't reach you. If you didn't feel like being reached, that was considered normal. Right now, more people have cell phones. So, by carrying a cell phone, yes, maybe the idea is that the person also wants to be connected. Yes, so option one is the answer. It says the need to be connected is more pronounced now, right? So this is an option that comes close, okay, but it lays a lot of emphasis on the now, right? Now the author doesn't say that earlier they didn't want to stay connected. Yes, he says earlier there was no other way. There was just a phone wired to a wall, connected to a wall, right? And if it rang, it rang. If the person was not available, it is not available. Yes. So this can be, we can look at this, but make sure that the now is something that helps us eliminate it. Yes. Cell phones have become a bigger necessity. Well, the author is not really talking about the necessity, right? So that's out. The usage of toilets is limited while cell phones. That's just it's a comparison or an analogy that the author uses to convey the idea, because a toilet is something that is a necessity, right? Something that is necessary. So if people have more cell phones than they have toilets, yes, maybe the idea, the irony of it is that people feel the need for a cell phone, maybe because they want to stay connected. So that leads us back to option one. Yes, and the number of cell phone users has increased over time, has nothing to do with this particular example. Yes, it's not about, this is a very practical option, which is not the point that the author is trying to make. Okay, which of the following can be best inferred from the passage? So again, we're looking for an inference. Yes, the answer to this is option 4. Okay, so we'll work backwards. Yes, how do we get to option 4? Actually, this is pretty straightforward from paragraph 1. Yes, that's where you get this answer. If you look at last part of paragraph 1, it says, highlighted from here, the irony here for those of us who are trying to focus amid competing activities is clear. The very brain region we need to rely on for staying on task is easily distracted. We answer the phone, look up something on the internet, check our email, send an SMS, and each of these things tweaks the novelty seeking, reward seeking centers of the brain, causing a burst of endogenous opioids. No wonder it feels so good, right? So he talks about how there is multitasking, we do various things. Yes, so the very region of the brain that we need to concentrate is the one that gets easily distracted, because we're doing so many little things, and it gives us a rush. Okay, it goes on to say it is the ultimate empty caloried brain candy. Okay, this is where it is. Instead of reaping, okay, so this is what gives us the answer actually, right? So I read from there onwards to give us the context. Instead of reaping the big rewards that come from sustained focused effort, we instead reap empty rewards, okay, from completing 1,000 little sugar coated tasks. Okay, so this tells us that multitasking gives you a feeling of achieving many things. Single tasking enables actually achieving something. Yes, so that is our answer. Right, we have here again a fairly long passage, 3 paragraphs long. Yes, quite an interesting passage. I'm sure most of you would find this interesting. It talks about using numerical information, quantitative data, right? And it talks about how humans, yes, so the first paragraph starts with human beings and how they use it, how it was before they became Homo sapiens. Okay, the second paragraph gives an example of how bacteria, especially a marine bacterium, Vibrio fishery, right? It is over here. Okay, uses quantitative information or numerical information, right? And the last paragraph talks about how they communicate quantitative information and introduces a term, quorum sensing. Okay, so this is what this paragraph is about. Now, question 11 says, which of the following statements cannot be inferred from the passage? Okay, cannot be inferred. The answer to this is option 4, which says ancestors of Homo sapiens interacted solely using numbers. And that's there itself, you get your answer, right, as to why it is not the answer, because you have the word solely, right? Ancestors of Homo sapiens interacted solely using numbers. The passage talks about how numerical information is used, how numbers are used, right? It doesn't say anything about the other methods of interaction. So from the passage, we cannot conclude or infer that they interacted solely using numbers. Okay, the first paragraph tells us, considering the multitude of situations in which we humans use numerical information, life without numbers is inconceivable. But what was the benefit? Okay, this is from the first paragraph. What was the benefit of numerical competence for our ancestors? Okay, so if you look at most of the options, they're talking about the ancestors, our ancestors, before they became Homo sapiens. Okay, so the first option says ancestors of Homo sapiens exploited resources in groups. Ancestors of Homo sapiens sensed numbers. Yes, both of which you get from the first paragraph. Ancestors of Homo sapiens hunted in groups. Well, that's the point that the author is trying to make. Yes, and ancestors of Homo sapiens used numerical competence. Yes, so you get these from the first paragraph. The second question says, based on the passage, which of the following statements best defines quorum sensing? So, if you remember, when I summed up the passage, I mentioned that quorum sensing is mentioned in the third paragraph. Okay, so it says here, this behavior is called quorum sensing. So, what is this behavior? Reading from from the beginning of the third paragraph, somehow they have to communicate cell number. Okay, mind you, the second paragraph is talking about bacteria. So, this continues the idea. And it turns out they do this using a chemical language. Okay, so how do they communicate cell number? Using a chemical language. They secrete communication molecules, and the concentration of these molecules in the water increases in proportion to the cell number. And when this molecule hits a certain amount called a quorum, it tells the other bacteria, okay, when it hits a certain amount, it tells the other bacteria how many neighbors there are, and all the bacteria glow. This behavior is called quorum sensing. Okay, so what is the answer? Option 5, which says bacteria respond when they discern, that is, when they are able to identify enough numbers around them. Okay, so that is your answer. Which of the following statements is not based on the premises of the passage? Okay, the premises, the evidence given in the passage. Now, as you can see, right, so from what we have understood from the passage, as I said, it is about how numerical information, quantitative data is used. In the third paragraph, it talks specifically about how the bacteria use it. Yes, especially the specific marine bacterium, Vibrio fischeri. Okay, that's what the third paragraph talks about. Yes, it has a special property that allows it to produce light. So that is what that's how quorum sensing is introduced. Okay, so basically the option that we are looking for should talk, or rather should not deal with how numbers or numerical data are is used. Okay, so no one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. Okay, now this is your answer, because it talks about a whole orchestra, it talks about a group. Yes, but it says no one can whistle a symphony, it takes a whole orchestra to play it. Yes, now this doesn't talk about how quantitative information is used as such. Yeah, so that's why that's the answer. Teams fear a red card as it would present, okay, as it would present an advantage for the opponents. Yes, so teams fear a red card, it says, right, and they're teams. Okay, so it is about how they come together using numerical information, right, and use that in such a way, right, they fear the red card as it would present an advantage for the opponents. Okay, politicians rally with numbers. Yes, so that is very, very clear. Rallying is coming together again, right? So that can be eliminated. People protest in large numbers. So there again, you get your quantitative information. And to de-escalate a border tension, countries carry out mirror deployment, right? So they are imitating each other. Yes, so there again, it is about using numerical data. Okay, so option one is the only one that doesn't is not based on the premises of the passage. Okay, so here we have a short passage. Yes, which of the following can be best concluded from the passage? This is very, very simple. Yes, the first paragraph says we can think of the history of life on Earth as a vast, long-term experiment in pure competition. Okay, so very clearly mentions that word, then goes on to give an example. In every living organism is competing. Yes, so actually, if you even if you skim through the passage, one word you will see repeated is the word competition. Yes, there are no governmental regulators to protect the weak or favor the strong. All organisms are given a chance. Yes, so you can take note of this sentence because that will help you eliminate one of the options. All of them are given a chance, but not necessarily an equal chance. Yes, as the climate and the environment change, and change they do, some organisms are favored over others at times, but these advantages are fleeting. Fleeting is temporary, short lived. What nature gives, nature can take away. So we look at this, it has the keyword competition is critical. Yes, so when you read that, you say, okay, this is a good option, but it says the survival of the fittest. Yes, now this is something that is not really dealt with the passage. Yes, so that especially the word competition is critical. Okay, it says there is competition, it exists everywhere. Okay, but does it say that it is critical to ensure the survival of the fittest? Is that the point that the author is trying to make? No. Yes, without unforgiving competition, the planet will be inundated. Inundated is flooded with the weak, right? This is definitely an extreme option. Yes, while it talks about protecting the weak or favoring the strong, that is not the main point that the author makes. Nature gives a fair opportunity to every organism to survive. This is the one I was talking about. If you look at sentence 2 of the second paragraph, we can definitely eliminate option 3 because it very clearly says that it gives everyone a chance, nature, but not necessarily an equal chance. Yeah, forgiveness is alien to the natural world, right? Now, where did forgiveness come from? We don't know. Yes, so option 5 is the best choice. Brutal competition, yes, because the second paragraph talks about that, is the only constant. Constant meaning that's the only thing that we know is there. Yes, there is competition. That's what the first paragraph tells us. Okay, so here we have a slightly different approach. Yes, so rather than being presented as a complete passage, here it specifically says para 1, para 2, para 3, right? This passage talks about the operations of Microsoft. Yes, and since the first question based on this passage asks for the core message of the excerpt. Okay, so it asks for the core message, which is nothing but the main idea or the central idea, right? That's what we're looking for. So what is the core message of the excerpt? The answer to this one is option 3. Okay, Microsoft is reducing its cost of operations and downsizing staff while staying optimistic about the future. Okay, now here I'm mainly going to talk about option 1. Microsoft is reducing its cost of operations, which is which is just the same as option 3. Marketing, so reducing the cost of operations, marketing, and human resources while staying the course on Lumia, it says. Yes, so this is a bit of a trap option. That's not the answer because this part of option 3 is an important part of the passage. Okay, while staying optimistic about the future. Okay, so the first paragraph says we plan to right size our manufacturing operations to align to the new strategy and take advantage of integration opportunities. Okay, goes on to give specifics. That's what the first paragraph is about. The second paragraph again says, so I'm just going to point out these words. We will focus, okay, in on driving Lumia volume in areas where we are already successful today. Okay, the second sentence says we will build on our success. Okay, the third sentence says we will focus on acquiring new customers, and the last sentence says we will continue building momentum around applications. Okay, so those are Predictions, yes, we will do this, we will do this. It's a plan of action and in a positive direction. So the word optimistic is something that is very, very important to this. Okay. And the last paragraph, paragraph 3, also says we plan, okay, that this would result in an estimated reduction of 12,500 factory direct and professional employees. These decisions are difficult for the team, and we plan to support departing team members. Okay. So there also it's on a positive note. Okay. They understand the difficulties and they plan to support departing team members with severance benefits. Okay. So option 3 is the best choice. In conveying the core message, para 2. Okay. So in conveying, right? So when it conveys or as it conveys the core message, what does para 2 do? Right? That is the idea, right? How does it help in conveying the core message, and how does it put it across? What does it do? Yes. Digresses is moves away, right? So that's a negative word. Okay. It doesn't move away from the line of thought. It keeps very much in line of thought. Elaborates the core message is something we can definitely look at, right? So you could keep it there. Assuages panic. Assuages is, it reassures people, right? It tells, it brings down, reduces the panic. Okay. Well, there is no sense of panic anywhere. Yes. Reassures a promising future. This looks like a good one because it has the word future. Yes. And promising because we use the word optimistic for the previous question. Okay. Predicts a rosy picture. Prediction again is something that is there definitely, right? If you remember, I had pointed out these words. We will focus, prediction. Okay. We will build. Yes. We will focus. We will continue building. Okay. So there is a prediction there. So it can also be taken as future. So that way we can eliminate option 2 because it only says elaborates the core message. It doesn't bring in the word optimism. Now, between 4 and 5, reassures a promising future, predicts a rosy picture. Yes, promising would imply that yes, there are definite plans. Yes, and these are the things. There is success. We build on to that success. We'll focus on things. We'll continue building momentum. Right? These are all promising ideas. Yes, rosy on the other hand would imply that everything is ideal, everything is picture perfect. Yes, which is a little extreme, right? Therefore option 4 is the best choice. Okay, we have here a short poem. Yes, again, poems can be quite complex sometimes, right? Can be a little vague, but in this case I think the message is pretty straightforward, and that's what the question also asks us to do. It asks us to identify the option that best captures the essence. Okay, so the essence of the poem, the main idea, this is the theme. Okay, so we have sit, drink your coffee here. Okay, your work can wait a while. Yeah, you're 26 and still have some of life ahead. No need for wit, just talk vacuities. Vacuities are empty nothings, as they are called, right? And I'll reciprocate and kind of laugh at you instead. The world is too opaque, distressing, and profound. This 20 minutes rendezvous. Okay, rendezvous is generally a secret meeting. It means in this case a meeting. Yes, a chat. So this 20 minutes rendezvous will make my day to sit here in the sun, okay, with grackles all around, staring with beady eyes and you 2 feet away. Yes. So what is the essence of this? Let's celebrate our existence, not our work is an extreme option, right? Nowhere does the author say don't do your work. Yes, or the poet say that. Let's eat, drink, and be merry in the lap of nature. This is twisting what is said in the last 2 3 lines. Yes, so we can eliminate 1, we can eliminate 2. Okay, let's create our own meaning in life. Okay, this is probably a little extreme, right? Taking it making it a little too serious. Yes, let's create our own meaning in life. Let's be gibberish, not rational about life. Definitely doesn't make sense. Gibberish is nonsense. Yes, so let's enjoy a moment of peace, right? It says, right, you're 26 and still have some life ahead. Sit, drink your coffee here. Your work can wait a while, right? So for some time it can wait. So let's enjoy a moment of peace. We have one more question based on this. What does the poet best convey by mentioning grackles? with grackles all around, staring with beady eyes, and you 2 feet away. Okay, so since the essence of the poem is that we should just take a little time, rest, sit down for a while, be at peace. Yes. Remind you, the last two, three lines are telling us that, right? To sit here in the sun with grackles all around, staring with beady eyes, and you 2 feet away. Okay. So over witty discussions, where did that come from? Right. So that's taking things too far. Grackles love to stare at us, right? We don't know that. The poem doesn't give us enough information. A small bird like grackle, okay, can give us lots of happiness. Again, not enough information in the poem. We should not care about grackles, but us. Okay, this can be an answer. And grackles, like humans, right? We don't know. There's no comparison made in the poem. Yes. So the best choice. So this again, right? So that's in keeping with the essence that we should just sit and relax. The grackles might be staring at us, but we should not care about. Here we have another passage. This passage makes for rather, it's easy reading and it's rather interesting reading. At least I found it so. Right? I hope you do too. It talks about the gender data gap. Right? So basically, it talks about how womankind, right, as opposed to mankind. Yes. So how woman is not really talked about at all in terms of history, and especially when it comes to data that is, or information that is collected, right? So it is all about man, right? The woman is nowhere mentioned, right? So that's why the author talks about something called the absent presence, which is what the first question is about, right? It talks about the absent presence. What does that mean? That's what we shall look at. So based on the passage, which of the following statements best explains absent presence? Yes. This is mentioned in the second paragraph. So as I said, most of recorded human history is one big data gap, right? As I said, whatever information is there about man, right? So the author very clearly says at the end of the first paragraph, when it comes to the lives of the other half of humanity, there is often nothing but silence. And these silences are everywhere, whether it is films or literature, right? The stories that are told, right, are all about man. So the author says they are marked disfigured. Disfigured meaning, there is a twisting, there is a distortion, right? And they are disfigured, they are marred, damaged by a female shaped absent presence. This is the gender data gap. All right. So, what does the author mean by the absent presence? Mind you, it is also described as female shaped, right? Meaning that there quite simply isn't information about women. Okay. So, what would the answer to this question be then? The first option, yes, the presence is felt. Yes, what is absent presence? The presence is felt due to the specificity of the absence. Yes, there are two, three options here that seem like possibilities. The absence makes the case for the need for presence. That can definitely be eliminated. It doesn't make a case for the need for presence. Yeah, by its sheer absence, it is present. So this one comes close. And because of the absence, one can recognize its presence. Option 4 also comes close. Yes, the absence is female shaped, right? This is too literal. Okay, so 5 can be eliminated easily, 2 can be eliminated easily, 1, 3, and 4 are what we look at. But the idea is that, there is information about man, yes, there is no information about woman. Yes, so more specifically, so the word specificity sets 1 apart from options 3 and 4, and that is why option 1 is the best choice. Okay, based on the passage, which of the following options best describes double not thinking? Okay, so where is double not thinking mentioned? It is mentioned in the 5th paragraph. Yes, so it says one of, this is where it is mentioned. Okay, so what does it say? Let's read that paragraph. One of the most important things to say about the gender data gap is that it is generally not malicious or even deliberate, right? So not having information about women is not done on purpose, right? Nor is it done with any evil intention, okay, or bad intention. Quite the opposite. It is simply the product of a way of thinking, okay, that has been around for millennia and is therefore a kind of not thinking, right? So it is more a thing of how it has been around, right, for a long time, where automatically women are not taken into consideration, right? So he says it's a kind of not thinking, meaning they're not thought about at all. It's not done on purpose. The thought never enters the heads of whoever is collecting data to actually collect data about women also in those situations. Yes. So that's why he or she calls it a double not thinking, even. Men go without saying, and women don't get said at all. Look at the way that is expressed. Women don't get said at all. Men go without saying, meaning men are taken into consideration without anybody specifically mentioning it. Women don't get mentioned at all, because when we say, this hits hard, because when we say human, on the whole, we mean man. Okay, so that is the idea. So what does double not thinking mean? This is option 4. Whenever humans are mentioned, it is men. Okay, further, women are not mentioned. Which of the following statements can be best concluded from the passage? Yes. Now, the answer to this is option 5. Okay. Emphasis on database decision making can be devastating to women given the gender data gap. Okay. So, the gender data gap is what the passage is about. Yes. The passage is talking about how women are just not mentioned, they're not even thought about, is what we looked at with the previous question, right? The double not thinking. Yes. You can look at one option: women have never been treated as distinct identities. Now this is sort of mentioned in the passage, yes, in this paragraph, when Simone de Beauvoir is mentioned, right? Made it famously when in 1949, she wrote, "Humanity is male, and man defines women not in herself, but as relative to him. She is not regarded as an autonomous being." But it says women have never been treated as distinct identities, which causes the gender data gap, is a little too specific. Okay. The need of the hour is to revisit the past and reduce. No, there is no such recommendation made. The gender data gap is amplified. It doesn't say that it is amplified, increased by database decision making. It is that it is already there, the gender data gap. Women are already affected by it, right? And it is generally devastating. It creates a lot of trouble for women because women are not taken into consideration. Yes. And option 5 says, over millennia, men ignored women, right? Nowhere does the passage say men ignored. It could even be women. Basically, it depends on whoever is collecting the data. Yes. So option 5 is the best choice. We have here again a short passage. Yes. And this passage talks about how a scientist should not, or is never certain, right? That's what the author says in the second sentence. A scientist is never certain, right? There shouldn't be absolute certainty. There should be a certain amount of uncertainty, right? So we need to know, we need to consider things. That is what this passage is talking about. Okay. So the question says, what does the author best mean when he says we must discuss each question within the uncertainties that are allowed? Okay, so this we find here. We must discuss each question within the uncertainties that are allowed. So what do the previous two sentences say? And that has to do with the question of uncertainty and doubt. A scientist is never certain. We all know that. We know that all our statements are approximate statements with different degrees of certainty. That when a statement is made, the question is not whether it is true or false, but rather how likely it is to be true or false. To what extent, yes, could it be true or false? Yes, we must discuss each question within the uncertainties that are allowed. And as evidence grows, okay, it increases the probability perhaps that some idea is right, or decreases it. Okay, so this is what these lines say. And what does the author mean when he says this? He basically means that, right, because he goes on to say, as evidence grows, we must, it increases the probability that perhaps some idea is right? So, or decreases the probability that it is right. So, meaning there is room for error. Yes, so we must be prepared to accept errors in the answers that we seek. What is the essence of the passage? The essence of the passage is that there should be, as I said, there should be a certain amount of questioning, right? There cannot be absolute certainty, because then that becomes a little terrifying, actually, right? So he says, and a question requires doubt, right? So these are certain lines that lead us, that help us get to this answer. And a question requires doubt. People search for certainty, but there is no certainty. People are terrified. How can you live and not know, right? There is a certain fear about living in uncertainty. He says it is not odd at all. You only think you know as a matter of fact, and most of your actions are based on incomplete knowledge. And you really don't know what it is all about, or what the purpose of the world is, or know a great deal of things. It is possible to live and not know. The answer to this is option one, reasonable skepticism. Mind you, the word reasonable is important here, because it is questioning, it is asking, right? Skepticism is questioning or doubting, right? Is the characteristic of a scientific mind. Reasonable discomfort for certainty is the path for progress, is a little extreme for this passage, yes, because it goes on to talk about progress, which is not really the key to the passage. Again, option 3 says progress involves questioning accepted truths. That, yeah, this is going beyond the scope. Science can never give, this is not mentioned, and doubting the established word order is the purpose of science. The author doesn't discuss the purpose of science. Okay, so quite easy to do. All right, we have here a grammar based question, the incorrect usage of articles. Okay, so which of the above sentences have the incorrect usage of articles? We are going to a restaurant but haven't decided which one. Okay, so we're going to a restaurant, one restaurant, yes, but haven't decided which one. So sentence 1 is correct. Okay, we went to the toilet behind the tree. So one specific toilet, one specific tree. That is correct. It was the November after we went to Indonesia. We normally do not put the definite article or any article before the name of a month, right? But here we are trying to identify a specific time. Yes. So a particular November after we went to Indonesia. Therefore, sentence 3 is correct. My friend is traveling to UK. UK is an abbreviation. Before an abbreviation, we would use the. Okay. She drinks medicine by a liter. The correct expression is by the liter. Yes, meaning liter wise. Yes, so it is not 1 liter, right? It is the measurement of it or the count of it is a liter at a time. So by the liter. Yes, so that is the idiomatic expression also. Would you rather go out or watch a TV? Yes, we are not watching. We can look at a TV, but we watch TV. Yes, so we are not watching the device. We are watching the programs that appear on the device, right? So we can look at a TV, but we watch TV. There is no need for the right. So the incorrect ones are 4, 5, and 6. So that would be option 3. Here we have another grammar based question. Which of the above sentences are grammatically correct? Yes. Now this question is, I believe there was a query raised about this also at the time, because this question is a little problematic. Since it is a grammar based question, there can be a query raised on this, right? Because it is based on certain rules. Yes. So in my opinion, Tom Jones is a picaresque novel, right? So that is correct. Article usage is correct. Subject verb agreement is there. So this is correct. According to me, now, in my opinion is a good expression. According to me, while it is colloquial, we do not use that. The more appropriate expression would be in my opinion. Yeah. According to me is, as I said, mind you, we do use it when we speak, right? But the more appropriate expression would be in my opinion. Okay, because idiomatic usage is as much a part of grammar and punctuation based questions. Yes, there. The books were distributed between. Okay, we have Jessica, Neha, and Swati. There are 3 people here. Okay, now when there are more than 2, we do not use between, we use among. Okay, so this should be among. The books were distributed among Jessica and Neha. Here we have only 2 people, so we do not use among, we use between. Okay, so 3 and 4 are incorrect. 2 is incorrect. Life teaches us important lessons. Sentence 5 is correct. The life moves forward, teaches backward. We are not talking about a specific life. It should have been life. Yes, So there is no need for the here. So sentence 6 is also incorrect. Okay. So the key gives option 5 as the answer, 1, 3, and 5. Okay. So this is where the question itself becomes a little problematic. Yes, because we know that sentence 2 is incorrect, sentence 3 is incorrect, sentence 4 is incorrect, and sentence 6 is incorrect. So actually, it is only sentences 1 and 5 that are correct. We have here a short passage. Yes, the writer's disappointment can best be summarized as, okay, based on the passage. So the passage talks about Twitter, yes, specifically a form of social media, yes, and how about the newspaper itself is, it says, as the ethics and mores of that platform, right, have become those of the paper, right? So whatever is followed by Twitter on Twitter, right? The same ethics and mores, meaning principles, are become those of the paper, the newspaper. The paper itself has increasingly become a kind of performance space. Yes. So the second sentence sums it up for us, right? The last sentence basically elaborates upon that idea, right? And says that stories are chosen and told in a way, okay? Stories are chosen and told in a way to satisfy the narrowest, okay, the narrowest of audiences rather than, okay, to allow a curious public, okay, rather than to allow a curious public to read about the world and then draw their own conclusions. Okay, so that's what a newspaper is supposed to do. It is supposed to present the information and let the reader draw his own or her own conclusions. Yes, but because it is influenced by Twitter, okay, specifically that the author mentions, he says it has become a kind of performance space. Yes, so the answer to this, which one best summarizes this idea? This would be option 3, which says newspapers cave into the narratives shared on social media platforms. Yes, so Twitter is not mentioned in any of the options, so that needn't worry us. But newspapers cave into the narratives means they get influenced by the narratives, the stories, the slant, as you can say, right? Because there is a definite slant, there is an opinion that is conveyed on social media platforms. Yes, fear to speak is extreme, therefore we eliminate option 1. Okay. Option 2 says get influenced, which is a good word, but by the followers on social media platform. It doesn't say that, right? But it doesn't specifically talk about followers. Okay. It is more about the slant or the opinion that is conveyed. Okay. Newspapers create their own narratives. This actually contradicts what is stated in the passage. Therefore, it is not option 4. Okay. They don't create their own narratives and they're ready to compromise with their ethics, is again taking something that is mentioned in the passage and twisting it. Yes, so option 3 is the one that summarizes it the best.